G'day guys, it's Luke here from Yak Hunters. Today I'm going to show you how to catch winter bass in an impoundment or dam. Believe it or not, it's actually a little bit easier than you think. There are, however, a few things that you'll need. The first thing you'll need is a sounder. So the first thing you'll need is a sounder. Ideally, you want one with down scan, but even better if you've got side scan. Now, the reason why we need a sounder is what we find in the winter, the bass tend to school up in big schools. And when they're like this, they're much easier to find. So the first thing we'll need to do is turn our sounder on, paddle across the dam, and let's find these big schools of bass. Okay, so we've come across a school of bass. Now, it's not the largest school of bass, but there are some nice fish down here grouped together. So right here is a good place to start fishing. Okay, so the next thing you're going to need, obviously, is your fishing rod. Now, when I fish for bass, I like to run anywhere from about 10 to 14 pound. So usually I'll run about 10 pound braid and anywhere from 12 to 14 pound fluorocarbon leader. And I find in places such as dams, that's quite a good combo and a good line setup for catching bass. So when it comes to lure choice for fishing for bass in the winter, a very popular lure choice is often just using a jig. So today what I'm using is the Palms Slow Blat 20 gram jig. Now this is probably my favourite colour, the silver and the white. But what this does is basically replicate a little bait fish or a bony brim that's been wounded, and it's as simple as dropping these jigs amongst those schools of bass that you've found, slowly raising them to the top, letting them drop under control, and hopefully a nice hungry aggressive bass is going to snap this up for a perfect snack. So these are really effective lures I find when I'm fishing for bass in the winter. Okay, so there's two techniques I like to use with this lure. The first one is just to chuck it out and let it sink all the way to the bottom. So keep your bail arm open until the lure reaches the bottom. Once it does, okay, you can start to slowly raise it up high off the bottom and let it sink back down under control. Now this is usually when the bass will hit it, when it's on the drop. Once it hits the bottom, just repeat that technique, slow long high lift up and a slow controlled drop back down to the bottom, and repeat. The second technique is to give it a hoik out there as far as you can. And once again, let it sink all the way to the bottom. So keep your bail arm open until you feel the lure hit the bottom. From there, we're just going to slowly wind and slow roll that lure back to the kayak. And what this does is basically keep it down deep and slowly flutter along the bottom. And soon enough, I'm on to a bass. Now you can take your social media snaps if you're into that kind of thing.
It's gotta be against the law to look this damn good.
Now what you'll often find is once you find the school, you'll be joined by a couple of others who want to get in on the action. But that's okay, it gives everyone a chance to have a bit of fun and get into the bass. Nice, not too bad. Hey. So this is what happens when your mates fish on top of you. You get tangles at the same time you've hooked up, and it can be quite a messy situation. Oh dear. So Dom's got a fish on here, and he's also tangled up to my jig. And look, it's going to be a little bit of fun. Okay, so one of the benefits of fishing for bass when they're in schools is that they're a little bit more aggressive and competitive than they would be if they were found by themselves or in small numbers. And think of it this way. If you have a dog and you put out a bowl of food, sometimes the dog can be a little bit fussy about what it wants to eat. But if you've got multiple dogs and you put out a single bowl of food, you'll find that the dogs get quite competitive and they'll want to eat as much of that food as they can before the other dogs get involved. So it's very similar to schooled bass. When we drop a jig or a lure amongst a school of bass, there's a lot of fish and not much food. So what we find is the bass get quite competitive when it comes to taking that food, which works to our advantage. So when we drop a jig or a lure in a school of bass, they're often a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more keen to hit that lure than they would be if they were by themselves or in smaller numbers. So it turns out I'm actually on. Shit, the tangle gnomes have come out and they've just wreaked havoc on us at the moment. Alright, sorry Don, I'm going to cut your line. Is that your lure? Yeah. Still stuck on the body here. Alright, let's get back to this fish. Oh, he's angry. I would be too. He's been sitting down there a little while. He's alright. Okay, so in summary, the important thing is to find those schools of bass. Okay, so paddle around, make the effort, use your sounder, find those schools of bass. And once you do, take advantage of their aggressive and competitive nature within those schools. So use things like jigs, vibes, tail spinners, really drop them down there and get those bass on the bite. And look, as you've seen, if you follow that school around for the day, you can literally sit there on top of that school and pull out numerous fish, one after the other. I hope that helps, guys, with winter fishing for bass. Good luck on the water, and hopefully you pull in a truckload of bass this winter.